The next thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to briefly start here, but I'm going to probably continue this in the next lecture, is we're going to talk about fricatives. Okay, fricatives have 5 articulatory positions. What are they? Some of the fricative sounds are the f and the v, the fan and the van. Then the linguodental, which is the th and the th. I can't say this, the thumb and the this, because most of my linguodentals actually become my alveolar sounds. If you hear me say thank you, it's very difficult. I have to really think through, and I usually will say thank you. Okay, if you can hear the difference in me saying thank you versus thank you. My thank you is one which is very common for me to say. So linguodentals do not exist in my language, so it's very hard for me to produce those sounds. Okay, then the alveolar is the s and the z. If you see where your tongue is, okay, it's right behind your alveolar ridge. Then the palatal is the sh and the zh, where your tongue is, okay. Then the glottal is the ha, ha, okay. So you have different, fricatives have different articulated positions. If you see here, the labiodental, okay, the linguodental, and then the alveolar, the palatal, and then the glottal is in the back where your vocal folds are. That's the glottal. Okay. The fricatives are non-resonant consonants. Remember we talked about this. What are the characteristics of non-resonant consonants? There is minimal airflow or restricted airflow. That's the term. No or minimal form and structure, and it is voiced or voiceless. Okay, but this fricative is a continuant. A continuant is something that can be prolonged. So if I go s, sh, see how I can prolong those sounds? Hence, fricatives are non-resonant continuant sounds. So if I were to ask you, give me an example of a non-resonant continuant sound, you should be able to give an example of a fricative. Okay? So again here, restricted airflow. The restricted airflow is caused by constrictions and occlusions within the vocal tract. There is a presence of audible noise. I don't have to do that again. If you again go and go s, that's the presence of audible noise, and this noise makes speech audible. Okay, the fricative noise originates at the articulated constriction. That's why you hear a difference in how those audible noises are. So let's do this again. See how the fricative noise that originates in the articulatory constriction has different sounding audible noises. It has voiced and voiceless cognates. So s, z, sh, zh, f, v. You see the difference? Let's do that one more time. I want you to think through this. I want you to really be able to pay attention. So it's a non-resonant sound, restricted airflow. The restriction happens in occlusions in the vocal tract of the oral cavity. Okay, and then there is a presence of audible noise, and there is also the fricative noise originates at different articulatory constrictions, so you can hear the difference between those noises. And they have voiced and voiceless cognates, meaning pairs. Okay, so we go s, z, f, v, sh. You hear the difference? Okay, those are some of the fricatives. Now, how is a fricative being produced? The airstream can be phonated or unphonated, voiced or voiceless, right? When that airstream comes through the constriction in the vocal tract, the constriction is brought by 2 articulators. The 2 articulators can be your teeth and your lips, so or your tongue at your alveolar ridge, those are the 2 articulators, or your tongue at the palate, shh. Okay, so the constriction in the vocal tract is brought by 2 articulators. The key important thing is your velopharyngeal port is closed. Unlike the nasals where your velopharyngeal port is open because the air has to pass through your nose, here we do not want to pass any air through the nose. So for example, if you placed your finger right beneath your nose and you go you're technically not supposed to feel any air coming through your nose. Okay, so your velopharyngeal port is closed. The airstream should be strong, the constriction should be narrow, and it makes airflow turbulent and creating friction. We get aperiodic vibrations. Hold on to that thought for a second because I'm going to come back and talk about certain characteristics between mixed periodic and aperiodic when we have some voiced fricatives. All right, so here we go again. How it is being produced? The airstream is phonated or unphonated, right? Because you can have voiced or voiceless sounds. When that airstream comes through your vocal tract, the constriction in the vocal tract is brought by two articulators. So for the it's your teeth and your lips, linguodental. Yeah, linguodental is okay. Your between your teeth and your lips can be the and then you have the alveolar, which is your tongue to your alveolar ridge, so it's the and then you have the tongue to your palate, which is the sh. Okay, it's brought through two articulators. Your velopharyngeal port has to be closed, right? Because you need the airstream to pass only through your oral cavity. You don't want it to go through your nose. The airstream should be strong, the constriction should be narrow, it makes airflow turbulent, and hence with the fricatives you have aperiodic vibrations coming through your oral cavity. But when it becomes a voiced sound, remember, z, zh, and v, these are voiced fricatives, which has periodicity. It's periodic at the level of the vocal folds because the vocal folds are vibrating, and then it's aperiodic at the level of the vocal tract because of its turbulent constriction. So those becomes mixed aperiodic and periodic voice sound. Sound. Okay, all right. The acoustic cues that we have in fricatives are energy in the high frequency region. Again, remember there is little or no formants, so it's not a resonant sound. Okay, the only thing that I want you to know is this. That's going to be your major cue, is the energy in the high frequency region. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here because I need to, I'm going to let you go over all of the concepts that we have so far, and then I'll come back and talk in more detail about the acoustic cues for your s and sh sounds and how to differentiate between those. Okay, all right, so we've done the nasals, we've started with the fricatives. Nasals are murmur, acoustic cues, anti-resonance. Murmur is between 200 to 300 hertz and seen on the spectrogram. Anti-resonances vary between 500 to 2500 hertz, and anti-resonances are not seen on the spectrogram. Fricatives, all we have only talked about is how it's being produced, and the main cue is going to be energy in high frequency region and no formants. Okay, we will continue back with the fricatives in the next lecture.